Alright guys, so we're back out on the boat today, so I'm a little bit nervous about pulling this cover off because, yeah, it looks like there may be some rain coming our way. So I definitely don't want to get caught in that with all of this wood exposed. So, plan for today, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start kind of scraping down some of this 5200. Nice, don't mind the ducks in the background. We're going to go ahead and start scraping down some of this 5200 around all of these screws. Once we get that all kind of scraped down and leveled, I'm going to mix up some thickened resin, and we're going to go ahead and fill all of these gaps between all of these boards with that thickened resin. Probably put a little bit around these edges here because I do want to smooth those over so that the fiberglass can wrap smoothly around that so it looks good and just has good strength. And then once we get all that done, I'll go ahead and put some of that thickened resin with the chop fibers all the way around these edges here. I did actually start doing the edges up towards the front there, all the way around the bow section. And I'll show you that once we get this cover off. But anyway, that is the game plan for today. Now that everything is so much more rigid, it feels like the entire boat just moves around so much more. Rather than flexing as you're walking around, the whole boat is just shaking like crazy. So, got to kind of get used to that. Wow. Okay, so my original plan, obviously, was to scrape all of this 5200 down so that everything is nice and smooth so I can lay down the thickened epoxy to fill in these joints. Unfortunately, that's not really working very well. This 5200 is actually, it's not hard, but it's a pretty solid kind of rubbery substance that I think is going to sand down really well. So I didn't really want to do it before I do the thickened epoxy, but I think I am just going to sand this whole entire surface down, get some of these like variations in height of these floorboards kind of evened out, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I think that's going to be step one. Okay, so the whole floor has now been sanded. All of the 5200's been knocked down, so it's all nice and smooth. So I think we're just going to go ahead and start working with the thickened resin to create the fillets all around the edges and fill in all of these little gaps and then kind of even things out. So let's get rolling with it. So same as previously, before we do anything at all, we need to wipe all of this down with acetone. And this, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe the wood as well as the fiberglass on the side. Get it all wiped down really good with some acetone. We want that resin to adhere to everything really, really well. Little bit thinner than I was working with before, but I think it's still going to hold its shape decently. So I'm going to use this spoon, and I'm going to use that to make a nice round curve to wrap the fiberglass mat to. All right, let's see what we got here. Like I said, I do want it to kind of go down into there, into that crack a little bit. I'm not sure how this spoon idea is going to work out. We'll see. We can kind of see how this is going. It's going extremely well, honestly. This spoon is making a beautiful fillet. It's leaving a little bit of a line on the floor and then on the wall, but that's going to sand down really nicely. As long as I have that curve really smooth, I shouldn't have to really sand that too much. The fiberglass should wrap around that without any real air pockets. So I'm just going to keep using this same method. I'm going to go all the way around the perimeter, and then we'll touch base again once I start filling some of these cracks and screw holes with the thickened epoxy. But so far, I'm really happy with this. Well, it happened. It started raining. So we're going to do something a little bit different for the next hour or two till this clears up. So I don't think I mentioned it before, but I picked up a motorcycle lift here. And yeah, what I've been working on is this cylinder. So this is a handy lift, motorcycle lift with these big extensions off the side. It makes like a 48-inch deck or something like that. Pretty big. But this was completely shot. The seals had to be replaced, so I went ahead and took this completely apart, replaced the main seal, and then also the front shaft seal and plastic bushing. So I'm going to go ahead and slap this back together until the weather clears up, which hopefully should be soon. Okay, moment of truth. Oh yeah. No problem. And not quite sure why you have to do this, but got to pop that loose, and then up apparently is down. So whatever, it works. Beautiful. All right, side extensions, and we're done. Okay, so what I want to make sure I mention is that I just sat right in the hole. So I just want to make sure I mention that this is pretty much the same stuff I've been working with, the thickened epoxy. However, this time I put in a lot less chopped strand, like the loose chopped strands. The reason I did that is because it's kind of hard to really smooth this out when there's a lot of the chopped fiberglass strands in there. So I figured if I put a little bit less than usual, hopefully it'll make it so that I can smooth it out and have a little bit, maybe a little bit less sanding, and hopefully it'll sand a little bit easier as well. So I think I'm just going to go right ahead and start on this seam, and we'll see how this works. Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. I think this is going to work just fine. And it shouldn't take very much either. Yeah, I think this is going to work really, really good. Just kind of like spackling a wall. Pretty much the exact same principle. Filling in nail holes. One thing I am trying to do is push this mixture down into these seams so that it's not just clinging on the surface, but it's also clinging on all the edges of the boards. So it's packed down in there nice and tight. Okay, well that's that. The thickened epoxy or thickened resin is all laid in the cracks, laid in the screw holes, and honestly it looks really good. So hopefully when it dries up, nothing shrinks down too much. So I'm hoping on not having to do another layer of this. So I think this should be pretty good with a really solid sanding, and then we'll move on to, I'm going to clean up these walls a little bit higher up on the sides so that I can wrap the fiberglass mat up, I don't know, maybe 8 inches or so. But that's going to be the next step. And then moving on to fiberglassing the whole floor. So pretty cool.